Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Small Business Bestie. This podcast is going to be a place to find inspiration through conversations with some of your favorite crafters, beneficial tips, and resources to help you along your craft business journey. I'm Jamela Payne, your host, and even though some of you may know me from Color Me Crafty, or you've stumbled across one of my YouTube videos or my social media channels, I thought that a perfect first episode would be telling my story, telling about myself and my journey and how I got to where I am today. First of all, I am many things. I'm a wife, a daughter, a sister, a mother, and y'all, I am somebody's grandmother. It's really hard to believe, but I am. One of the things I love to do most in life is craft. My love for craft started way back when I was 6 years old, and my grandmother taught me how to make those friendship bracelets, the ones with the knots that everybody was doing. This is the first experience I can remember with crafts, and I remember loving it. I remember it being one of my favorite things to do when I went to visit my grandmother is the different crafts that she would do with me. So moving ahead a little bit, I've always been a hustler. And in high school, I decided to start making those beaded name necklaces. The ones with the teeny tiny seed beads, and then you had the white and black letters on the necklaces. I made those and sold them for $1. And although I was underselling myself, being in high school, I was probably 9th or 10th grade. Being in high school and having a way to make money on my own was probably the best thing I could imagine then. I went to school to be a cosmetologist. I started my first blog in 2012 when I was still doing hair. I got started blogging because I was really big into extreme couponing, and one of the couponers I followed sent out an email to her audience saying that she was looking for a VA or a virtual assistant. So I applied, she hired me, and then I ended up working for her for a while. Now, once that ended, I thought, hey, I know enough to run my own blog. I didn't, but I kept at it. After I stopped doing hair, I became a server and a bartender. I was still blogging, but it was making less than $100 a month, so it wasn't sustainable for a single mom of 3. So I continued to work as a bartender, working nights, missing out on everything that my kids had going on because I was sleeping most of the day. I was tired. I didn't get off till 3 or 4 most nights. And not to mention that I was working in small bars with small business owners who just treated their employees poorly. In 2016, I started making t-shirts and promoting them on my Facebook page. The shirts were made with Caesar glitter, and Caesar's glitter vinyl is the truth. The first ones I made for myself, and I started sharing. People started asking me if they could buy them. So I started selling those t-shirts. And until then, I never had a vision of my craft passion turning into any sort of business. Like, how do you make money off crafts? But I was learning. In 2017, I decided to take a huge leap and quit my bartending job to focus on my crafts full time. Now, I was still blogging, but at this point, my craft business, my t-shirt business was making more money than my blog was. It was scary, scarier than you'll ever know. I didn't have any money in savings, and I was a single mom of 3 kids. I was terrified, but I've always had a hustle mentality, and I knew I had to figure it out. In my head, I just kept telling myself that making t-shirts and tumblers were my ticket to financial freedom, that I was going to be able to support my family through my crafts. And the relief I felt when I realized that I could use my crafting skills as a way to support my family is something I can't even describe. But it was still hard. I failed, I fell, but I didn't give up. I had to learn everything from scratch, from pricing products in a way that actually made me a profit, all the way to managing and running a business on my own. It was a super steep learning curve. But through networking and consistent research, and of course, never giving up, I got it. So here I am, 7 years later, still running a business that is supporting my family. I'm a lot happier than I was when I was working for somebody else. I've always been a dreamer, and I have huge plans, not just for my business, but for this podcast too. Whether you're a seasoned crafter or just starting out, I hope you'll continue to join me on this podcast journey. Together, we'll explore some tips and mindsets about turning your craft hobby into a hustle. Thank you so much for tuning in to the first episode of Small Business Bestie. I can't wait to see where this whole thing takes us. I'm going to end this first episode by telling you it's scary and it's hard, harder than anything you've ever done before. But in the end, it's all worth it.